Hey everyone, it's time for another episode of the Jason Wright Show's Freestyle Friday. Today I want to talk about something that impacts each and every one of us. And it just might be a man-made concept. It might be just made up. It may have never really existed until we came along and invented it. And that thing is, I'll tell you in just a minute. But before I do that, I want to tell you about shopauthentic.health.com. So what if you could limit all your supplementation to just 3 bottle caps? What if I could tell you that you could get yourself leaps and bounds above where you are nutritionally with just 3 simple supplements? And by the way, what if I told you that these supplements were designed by a physician with 30 years clinical experience? What if I could tell you that? Well, I can. If you go to shopauthentic.health.com, and if you use the promo code Jason, you're going to get a discount on this 3-bottle foundational stack from Authentic Health, designed by Dr. Gus Vickery. Go check it out. Get rid of the green powders. Don't worry that you don't buy every single thing organic. Don't worry that you don't have that fancy reverse osmosis system under your counter. Now, all these things I'm all for. If you're doing them, I think it's awesome. But if you don't, if you want to just go the easy route, if you want to take the path of least resistance, go to shopauthentic.health.com and order the foundational stack. If you don't want to order all 3, then fine. I would suggest, this is just me, this is just Jason, not making a recommendation, but here's what I do. Whenever I am running short on the essential nutrients, essential fats, or the essential amino acids, the one I'm always going to go back to and make sure I never run out of are the essential amino acids. Dr. Gus and I did an entire podcast on that. That's his Desert Island supplement because it helps you develop protein and lean body mass better than anything else out there. So, all that said, go to shopauthentic.health.com, use promo code Jason, order the foundational stack today, and you'll be glad you did. It will help you just cover those basics for better health and longevity. All right, so today, I want to talk about something that I came across on the Instagrams, and it hit me because this is something that I'm constantly struggling with. I'm constantly trying to figure out how do I make the best of it. And it's this thing that very well may just be a man-made construct. Now, I'm not going to talk about what you think I'm going to talk about. We hear a lot about man-made constructs these days. That's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm talking about time. Did you know that time is an invention? There was once upon a time that time did not exist. What the heck are you talking about, Jason? Are you kidding me? There's always been time. No, that's not true at all. There's a book that I read called The Discoverers. And I was kind of shocked whenever I first started the book. And the first thing that the book describes is the invention of time. Because before we had clocks, now most of you now that I've said this, you're probably thinking, well, you know, there are those things called the hourglass, and then there's also a sundial, and then we have the phases of the moon that we've looked at, and there's all these other things. Well, all of those things were created as a way to start to measure time. And by the way, when you really study this, when you really get into the weeds of it, and like reading this book, again, The Discoverers, I highly recommend it. It's a really cool book. When you start to really read into it, you realize how amazing a watch is, how amazing this thing, time is, how we have separated the days down to a nanosecond, how we now capture time, again, this thing that was invented, down to such a small, tiny, microscopic level. It's truly amazing. It's one of these things that, again, I just took it for granted because as long as you and I, anybody listening to this podcast, as long as we've been alive, there have been clocks. We have been able to capture time. We've been able to measure time. You've been able to say, you know, hey, I will meet you at the coffee shop at 3:30, and you were able to do it. There was a period where you just said, hey, I'll meet you at the coffee shop somewhere around the time that the sun is hanging in this part of the sky. And so it almost made it impossible. And that's why you had town squares, because they all everybody congregated based on the rising and the setting of the sun, and they tried to kind of make their day go around that way and move in that direction. And then that's why there a lot of, especially if you go like to the medieval villages and then in particular around the Renaissance era, if you go like to St. Mark's Square, which I've been to, that has one of the most gorgeous town square clocks you've ever seen. But you go to these town squares from the Renaissance era, and they had these unbelievably beautiful, gorgeous, ornate clocks. It's because as time started to become discovered and perfected and captured, well, obviously not everyone could afford a watch. A watch wasn't even a thing for years and years and years. But there was a town clock where people would congregate, and time started to dictate so much of people's lives, as it does now. How many times do we hear, you never have enough time? You know, time is what you make of it. Manage your time. And it's something that I have struggled with for years, not time management necessarily, but this concept of the past, the present, and the future. One of the things I've said on the show a lot is that one of my biggest weaknesses throughout my life is that I've always looked at the past with a lot of nostalgia. I've looked at the future with a lot of anxiety and angst. And in doing that, I completely disregard the present, the here and the now, and what's going on. And then as I started practicing meditation and mindfulness, I started to understand more about the power of the present and how essentially what's happening right now in this very moment, which is already gone. The one, me saying, I know, I told you guys I was getting kind of philosophical today and kind of out there today, so just bear with me. But the first time I said the here and the now, that it's already gone. It no longer exists, so it's no longer real. Now, there might be a remnant of it based on something I said. We're going to record something that happened at that time, but it's gone. That period of time is already vanished. Poof, gone. And so, therefore, really the only thing that's real is in the here and then the now. And whenever I am personally able to consolidate everything into the present moment, realizing that whatever might be in the future is all just a figment of my imagination. It's not there. It's not real. It will exist in a single moment at some period of time, but right now it is no longer there. So why am I going to let that impact what's happening right here, right now, which is the only time that actually matters? Things that happened in the past, they've come, they've gone. There's nothing we can do about them. There are some remnants based on decisions and things that happened in those tiny little present moments, all compounded. But as it relates to the here and the now, then they just don't really matter. So this was all sparked by this video that I saw this week, and I'm going to play it for you and then kind of sort it out and try to make some sense of it. And I might be completely misreading it. These are some of the things that I took from it. So I want to show you that video. I want you guys to think, what is your take on this? Please leave comments. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, please leave some comments or send me an email at producer@texttitans.com. And let me know what you think, because I think this it's really kind of a mind-boggling thing. It's taking this thing that we've invented called time and kind of just blowing it up. And for me, it made it even more imperative to really focus on the here and the now. So check this out.
There is no time.
Okay.
Period. Have you ever been to the past?
It's all
or the future?
Thought. Past is thought.
No. You think of the past, but you think of the past now. Have you ever actually been to the place called the past that you think about?
No.
It's not possible. Nobody's ever been there. It's a belief. It's just a belief that we all take for granted. Is it your experience that the now is moving along a line of time from the past to the future? Is the now moving? And how long does the now last?
I don't think I've ever measured it.
It doesn't. It doesn't last. The now doesn't last in time. There is no time for the now to last in. Now is not a moment sandwiched between these two vast spaces. There is no vast space either side of the now. The now is not a moment. These are New Age ideas. They have nothing to do with truth or reality. The now is not a moment. Now is eternity. the ever-present, not the everlasting. But when that now is filtered through the limitations of the mind, it appears as time.
Okay.
The mind is like a prism which refracts the now, which has no dimensions, into a single dimension of time.
So what are your thoughts on that? To me, it's kind of, for a moment, it's kind of hard to get your brain around, because we always think, we've been so conditioned to think about life as segments of time. What year did it happen? What month? What day? What week? At what time were you doing that day? So much of our life has been divided up into elements of time that it seems so very real to us. And as I processed it, it was kind of like, it's almost like saying, if you took a loaf of bread, there is no slice of bread. There's just this loaf of bread. And then we divide it up and we create the slices, and now there are slices of bread, but really it's not a slice of bread. It's just a segment of what is a whole loaf of bread. And if we take that and we apply it to our lives, we're all on this long trajectory of life that we as human beings have created ways to segment up the life in which we live. And so what's the utility value of that? Why does this even matter? Why did I waste an entire episode of Freestyle Friday to talk about this? Well, it's because I think it's important I think time can often be a beast of burden for a lot of us. I know for me, for the longest, I had all these arbitrary timelines on when I had to get an MBA, when I had to have a certain amount of money, when I had to purchase a home, all these different things. And I know that you do that too. I mean, I guarantee you there's something you think you need to have achieved by a certain date, by a certain time, by a certain age, that maybe you haven't yet. And so you're beating the crap out of yourself because you didn't do that thing at the time you thought. And now here you are in the here, in the now, and you feel like a failure. You feel like you haven't done all this. I have felt these things throughout the course of my life, and I still will. Just because I'm sorting these things out doesn't mean I'm going to be now immune to setting goals to achieve by a certain time. But here's the thing, time never stops. Time is like this train that is always moving. It stops for no one. And sometimes we get on it and the ride is smooth, but if you decide to jump off, time continues to go. It never stops. It won't stop for you. It will not stop for me. It is moving towards its never-ending destination no matter what. We just hop on and hop off, and sometimes it feels like the train is moving really fast. Sometimes it feels like the train is moving really slow, but it's not. It is moving at exactly the same time that each and every day at every single moment, because guess what? It's not bound by time at all. It never changes. So what do we do with that? Well, I think first of all, we give ourselves a break. We give ourselves a break and realize, I remember something that comes to mind is Harlan Sanders. That's right. All of a sudden, in the midst of this random Freestyle Friday on the Jason Wright Show, I'm thinking about some fried chicken. But not really. I'm thinking about Harlan Sanders. Every one of us, I mean, you know who Colonel Sanders is. What amazing branding guy he was, wearing the white suit and the little black bolo tie, and having never been a colonel in his life. I think he was one of those Kentucky colonels. Colonels are handed out in Kentucky like as an honorary title, which is kind of cool. I once worked for a guy that was a Kentucky colonel. So like he was Colonel Sanders. It wasn't like he was a military leader. I'm pretty sure he was just a Kentucky colonel in that sense. And we all know him for his wild, wild success as Colonel Sanders and KFC and his secret recipe. Do you know how old Harlan Sanders was when he really hit it big, whenever he finally figured out how to make money off his fried chicken recipe? 65 years old. 65. How about that? In fact, if you look at through the course of many, many great entrepreneurs and business leaders and the people that have really changed the world, most of them didn't really hit their stride until they were around 50. The average age of someone making their first million, if I'm not mistaken, is somewhere around 50 years old. Now, when you're 23 and 24 in this day and age, especially 2025, where you hear of guys like Zuckerberg and all these others that are just crushing it at such young ages, those are the outliers. Those are and granted, you can scale and make billions and billions of dollars at a much younger age these days, maybe than you could have once. It's not really the point, but the bottom line is, when you see that, then all of a sudden you turn 35 or 40 or 45 and 50 and you haven't hit it really big, then you think, I must be behind. I must be deficient because I'm running out of time. You're not running out of anything. You're running out of anything because time's not real in this sense. I'm not saying you can now just start not showing up to appointments and you don't have to wake up. Come on. Not saying that. That's what some of you contrarians out there are going, well, Jason, does that mean that I can just wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning? It doesn't matter. I just tell my boss there's no such thing as time. I heard it on the Jason Wright show. Nope. That's not what I'm saying. Don't be an idiot. Practice the Dwight Schrute principle. Think. What would an idiot do and not do that thing? Okay? Let's start there. What I am saying is, as it relates to these arbitrary timelines, there is no appointment for you to become a millionaire. There is no standing appointment for you to achieve, to get a master's degree, to get a PhD. This does not mean that you shouldn't have a timeline set that you would like to achieve this thing. But also, we have to give ourselves some grace to realize that whether I am 50 or 60 or 55 when this thing happens, it really doesn't matter because it's all arbitrary anyway. I'm just going to seize this moment, this present, the only thing that's real, this moment right here and now. I'm going to just seize upon it to do the absolute best I can, knowing that if I take full advantage of this moment I've been given, that the thing I would like to achieve, that I'm planning to achieve inside of 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, I'm much more likely to get my mind in a place to achieve it if I can get my mind out of the future and into the present. And that's it, because it's the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that's real. It's the only time where you are truly traveling at the speed of the train, because it's finite. It's there. It never changes. So I hope that you will give yourself some of that grace. That's what I've started to do in my life. I've started to take this approach that, now granted, I'm 50 years old. So to those of you who are younger, it's easier for me. It's not that I've had some great awakening or revelation or something like that. I'm not willing to give myself that much credit. I think that a lot of the reason why I have come to this conclusion is just because I've been on this earth for 5 decades now, and I've kind of realized that a lot of the stuff that I would get so worked up and so wound up about that related to timelines that I would set for myself that I didn't achieve, or even those that I did achieve, as I look back on them, I don't care. They don't matter. It just doesn't matter. And so like there's some goals that I do have that I want to achieve. And I'm pretty certain that if I'm so blessed as to achieve these goals, that I'm not going to sit back and go, God, if only I had done this sooner. If I'd only achieved this thing 20 years ago. I don't think that's going to happen, because I think what's going to happen is I'm going to be in the present, in that moment, and having achieved it and thought, and just, I'm going to relish it and enjoy it and go, thank God, this feels great right now. I might be able to think that, well, it would have been good to have this feeling 20 years ago, but how many times have you ever done that? How many times have you ever bought, let's just use something really stupid material, but you buy a brand new car that you've always wanted and you love it. And let's just say that you were responsible and you wrote a check for it and you got it and it's like awesome. And you smell the leather. It's in that moment, it's just so amazing. You just love this new car that you got. Do you then, once the serotonin levels come down to a normal level, start going, man, my life would have been so much better if I'd had this feeling 10 years ago? Why in the hell would you do that? You know why you don't do that? Because it's not real. You don't take yourself back to some place that no longer exists. You sit there in that present moment and enjoy it. That's just what we do. So to kind of put a bow on this thing, I think what I'm trying to do and what I challenge you to do is to don't get so wound up about the past. It's gone. It's never coming back. And according to this speaker, I don't know who that was that didn't have any of his, who this guy was that was talking. I'm sure I could look it up, but I'm real lazy and I'm not going to. He basically says it's not real. The past is not real. There was a moment that happened, but what he's saying is, like, as it relates to 2:30 July 15th, 1984, that is not a thing. That is just a time stamp we put on this thing that moves forever. It's just at that time, we just put a stamp on it. And so there it is. You can go back and look at the stamp that was there on a movie reel, but you can't go touch it. You can't go back to it. You can't go grab it. And if you can't grab it, you can't see it. It ain't real. It never happened. We just stamped it. So the only thing that is even remotely close to being real is the moment that you and I are in right now, because we're living, we're breathing, and it's happening. But guess what? We're never coming back here. The moment that we're having right now together, we'll have some artifacts from it. This podcast will exist from this time, but it's not, but as it relates to time, the stamp of time that we will put on me recording this podcast, or the stamp of time of you listening to this podcast, is no more relevant than the stamp of time for me. And it's no more real than when I recorded it. That's how arbitrary time is. So give yourself a break. Put time, this man-made construct of dividing up this loaf of bread that is eternity, as you believe, as I believe it to be. From this, there's this part of eternity. Then there's the other side of eternity. It's just this giant loaf of bread that we put the slices in. So give yourself a break. Don't get so wound up about time. Don't let time have more weight than it actually deserves. All right. I hope that, I know this was kind of a weird Freestyle Friday, but I hope you took something from it. I hope you will give yourself a break. I want you to set goals and timelines, all that stuff. That's great. But just remember, they're just man-made constructs. So sometime you need to just chill out and realize that time is it's moving at a steady pace of its own accord. You can't change it. I can't change it. The best we can do is take full advantage of the present moment in which we're in, each and every moment of every single day. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend. I'm Jason, and I'm out. Well, that does it for this episode of The Jason Wright Show. Thank you so much for listening. This has been a Texas Titan Media production. Fourth Wall did the music. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Please consider going out to jasonwrightnow.com and signing up for the Vitruvian Letter. Also, please go out to iTunes. It takes like 30 seconds to just leave us a 5-star rating. It does wonders for the podcast. I would be so grateful. And with that, until we meet again, go crush it and endeavor to improve always in all ways. I'm out.